Welcome to the Vibration Fit podcast. I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Jordan. And today we had a kindergarten drop-off.
First one ever.
First one ever.
Our oldest child started
Oliver.
kindergarten today.
Oliver Cash Buckingham is right now currently sitting in a kindergarten classroom.
Yep. And we're going to learn all about his day in a few hours. But until then,
we'll be shooting this podcast.
Yes.
So buckle in for the next 14 hours.
Where we share all of our emotions.
That was a joke. There's no way this will last that long.
Oh my goodness.
But seriously, it did bring up thoughts and like emotions because it's like, oh, wow, this is a big moment,
right.
And I feel like a lot of times whenever you have moments that you know are coming, we have a tendency sometimes to do these, I would like this to happen before that monumental time kind of thing.
These arbitrary timestamps of wanting to have these certain goals accomplished by.
Totally. And so you start to think about like, did I accomplish some of those things that I intended to accomplish by this timestamp kind of thing, right? And I was thinking as I was dropping him off that I didn't have like a sadness because I really do feel that the first 6 years of his life had very present parents in it.
Yeah.
I mean, virtually 24/7, we were there and around him and giving him love and appreciation and focused on all the little moments of him becoming him.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny depending on your perspective, like how you're looking at it. It can either bring you pain or pleasure or pain or excitement, depending on how you look at your kid going into school. So like at first, and there may still be days like this where we look at the school system and we're like, all right, from this time to this time, he's going to be in school Monday through Friday. So part of us is like, oh man, that's like encroaching on our freedom,
Totally.
like making this be our set schedule.
Right.
So whenever I started thinking about it that way and thinking like, well, this is taking my son away from us and we're not going to get to see him during these times. And now like we don't have that same freedom that we had where we could just like go on a boat at noon or 10 a.m. and he didn't have anywhere to be. Like now we have this set schedule. So when I looked at it from that perspective, that of course brought pain where it was like, well, maybe we're making the wrong choice. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
But then when you shift the perspective into, well, if say, for example, you homeschool, so you think about it from that perspective. It's like, well, if I were to homeschool, what would that situation look like? Well, now I'm giving up different freedoms
Correct.
in order to homeschool. So now I need to research, like, what are the best homeschooling programs? Like, what help can I get to facilitate some of the learning? Because our kids don't always listen to what we have to say. They want to be the ones teaching us all the things.
Correct. They teach us things.
Yeah.
Like, we've been here slightly longer than them, but I'm pretty sure they've got it more figured out.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. They want to be the ones like showing us what they learned, telling us what they learned, not us teaching them and them not relaying that information.
100%.
So it's like by thinking about the situation, and I actually do this a lot in life. I let all of the situations kind of play themselves out in my mind and actually like really imagine what those different situations would feel like and what my life would be like waking up to that kind of life every morning. And it is funny because depending on the perspective that you're holding, it can also, like, there's freedom in both, if that makes sense.
Right.
So like the homeschooling scenario, if you homeschool, then like you are free to make your own schedule, but you don't have the same freedom for things like we're doing right now, if that makes sense.
Totally. And I think it brings up a really big point in life of there's a tendency to try to line up all the circumstances to automatically yield a positive feeling emotion, right?
Right.
So if I can just line up all these circumstances in a particular way and flip the first domino, then everything is going to just go perfectly and I'm going to feel good, right?
Mhm.
And no matter what scenario you're in, right, there's always a choice of how you're going to perceive that scenario. So we come to find that it's not the circumstances that surround, but more your perspective within the circumstances that you're surrounded by that actually produces the emotional response, right?
Totally.
So ultimately, a lot of this play back and forth of which circumstantial set should I choose to be happy sort of disappears whenever you realize there's freedom in all of them
Right.
and there's restriction in all of them. There's joy in all of them and there's pain in all of them, depending on what my perspective is.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, totally. And something that has really been giving me a lot of relief is this statement. This is great for now. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I love that one.
Because I feel like as humans, we tend to like forecast things into the future based on what you're currently experiencing.
Today's weather and the rest of your life's weather will be. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
When in reality, nothing in the universe is stagnant.
Correct.
Everything is changing constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's foolish to take your current circumstances and place them in the future and say it's going to be the exact same scenario, the exact same everything, and I'm going to feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
So I've really been living by that mantra. This is great for now. Let's see how it goes. I'm not going to make any promises about how the next 5 years, 10 years, even the next year is going to go.
Yeah.
Like I believe anything is possible and I don't lock in anything as absolute.
Right. We really are more at choice in our life than we feel like. And the more freedom you build into your life, the more choice you have within it. And that actually kind of
Right.
brings me to the idea that I really wanted to capture inside of this podcast, which is how did we get to a point that our child entered kindergarten and we really do feel like we were present for his first 6 years of life? I really don't feel like I missed any of it.
Right.
I'm not looking at it with like, oh, there were so many things I wanted to do with him before he went into kindergarten. Oh my gosh. Like now that time is gone and that opportunity has passed and I have missed it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel that way at all. Like I really feel like we were highly intentional and we did so many even more things than I would have imagined. Like we had so many amazing experiences, so many traveling experiences, so many taking him to different places in the world for months at a time. You know,
Right.
sometimes like we did the deal for real. And
Oh yeah.
I was thinking what I wanted to capture on that is how did that happen? Like how was it that we reached a point where, wow, he's entering kindergarten. I'm really happy with how he went about the first 6 years of his life,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Well, first off, we had a clear vision of what we wanted our life together and our life as a family to look like before we even had children.
Absolutely.
And second off, we relied heavily and still do on our emotional guidance system to lead the way
Totally.
to the unfolding of that path.
Yeah. So if you look at it super simply, if you've got clarity on
Mhm.
what you want your life to look like, and you've arrived at that clarity using the emotional compass within
Yeah.
to say, this is what I think I want right now. It's what I think I want my life to look like. Let's feel it out. How's that feel? That definitely puts me above the green line whenever I go into a virtual reality state, imagining that
Yeah.
existence. Rock on. That sounds cool to me. And then beyond just the internal compass of what does clarity look like, you also have the decision compass of what decision to make in all these given scenarios because you actually have an orientation. Like, have you ever seen a map that didn't have like the north, south, east, west symbols on it? And it's like, or maybe they were cut off, or maybe you couldn't see them.
Or
And
sideways.
You're
like,
sideways
yeah.
and you're in a weird place. You're in the middle of
Mhm.
a city. You're like, I don't know what's up, down, left, right. sideways,
Yeah.
right? So if you have some sort of an orientation built in that it's like, that is north,
Right.
then you can make decisions. So if I'm trying to move from this point to that point, and I know that that is north of here, then I can continually adjust, continually pointing my way north. And if I have to go east for a minute because that takes me to another road that takes me north, then so be it. If I have to go west for a second to get to another road that takes me north, that's how it is. But at the end of the day, I'm always oriented myself back to north.
Totally.
And I really feel like that's what having a clear vision for your life does, is it gives you that North Star to make decisions around.
Right. That beacon of light. I love thinking of it as that too. We refer to it as a beacon of light, where that's like the thing in the darkness that's just calling you, and it's there steadfast, and you can clearly see it whenever you line up with it.
Absolutely.
But before we even had children, I remember in our initial vision document. So when we would sit down and we would mutually basically write down our goals around what we envisioned our life looking like the most satiating version of our life in our future. What that looked like to us even back then is exactly what we're living now.
Yeah.
It's so trippy. Like the phrase living the dream, we're literally living what we once wrote down
as a dream.
And like we're doing it.
Absolutely. And when we wrote that stuff down initially, the means were not there.
At all.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously we've stepped into the means and great things have happened.
Yeah.
But when we were writing that down, it looked crazy. It was like, how would you ever achieve this, really? Like, how would you make this much money? How would you have this much freedom? How would you be enjoying your day like this? How would you live in a house like that? How would you drive a car like that?
How would you live near the beach? Like, what beach are you talking about? Where in the world is this beach that you're talking about? Like white, very soft, sandy beaches and like beautiful, crystal clear blue waters. Like, where does that exist?
Where is that? Yeah, we're in like San Angelo, Texas, which is like West Texas, which is like when you hear in the Western movies, like the like some bird in the distance and then a tumbleweed roll across the road. We literally had tumbleweeds that would roll across the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like,
it's like the
dry as a bone.
No beach, no ocean. Like, so like we're creating this on paper in the middle of West Texas at a time.
With my mom.
Living with your mom.
We had no house.
No house, no money.
Yeah.
No path really that would take us there. I mean, we always had like a path that seemed like the most logical thing to do at the time, next step.
Yeah.
But what we were doing then is not what we were doing now.
No.
It wasn't even on the radar. Like Buckingham Enterprises Inc., wasn't even on the radar.
Yeah, so how were those people so bold in believing that they could live near a beach, like with beautiful, pristine white sand and beautiful, clear blue water, and live in a house that was close to that beach and have a family with children that not only me or not only just you, but both of us could be around all the time?
Yeah.
Like, in our minivan. Like,
rolling that Honda Odyssey Elite, baby. Rolling down the street in my Honda. It is so awesome, yeah.
Like, we paid cash for that baby.
Absolutely.
Parked in our driveway.
We sure did.
And
we just wrote them a check.
Paid off our other car. Yeah, we have awesome. Like 2 paid off cars in our beautiful home driveway close to the beach, like being as free as a bird.
Yeah.
Like free to spend as much time with our kids as we want.
Yeah.
Like I remember specifically putting in the vision document that like we're there for every special moment.
Yeah. 100%.
And we have been.
Yeah, we've absolutely been there. And we preemptively struck in our mind to create that scenario. And we built it on paper way in advance. So this all kind of comes full circle to how did we arrive here?
Yeah.
And that is how we arrived here. What happened was we gained clarity using our emotional guidance system to feel our way into what would be an emotionally satisfying life for us, at least from the limited perspective of our conscious mind, living the life that we were living. We really captured what we felt was there for us. And it turned out it was there for us. I truly believe that there's a portion of your consciousness that is chewing up all of your life experience. And it essentially knows what an emotionally satisfying life would look like for you, especially in the dominant areas. And I personally believe that it vibrationally holds that version of you in escrow, so to speak, but there's an active version of you. So escrow is not even like the best word really, but there's an active version of you at a level of your consciousness that is that person living that life, right? And so because that exists, I believe that clarity is there for me, even if I'm not living anything close to that, which at the time we weren't, right? I do believe that clarity is there for me. So because I believe that clarity was there for me, I was able to, with you, find it, identify it, bring it into form in the form of a literal document, right? And then ultimately get to make that the North Star that then we could make decisions, constantly asking ourselves this one question. Does this get me closer to or further away from the life that I choose to live? And we literally titled the document The Life I Choose, right?
And so, then the life we choose.
Yeah, it was the life I choose until it was the life we choose. And I had to scrap most of the life I choose because, I mean, there was stuff that made it in that we both mutually wanted. But once I found you, I realized that a lot of the stuff that I put in the life I choose was actually put there because I thought it was going to be required to find you or to get you. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, all this stuff that I thought was going to be necessary to get her is now unnecessary because I've now found her. And it was awesome because it left like a massive amount of space for us to build our own life together. But it brought us to that question over and over again. And I think ultimately, your life is a compilation of thousands upon thousands upon thousands of little micro decisions that you're making day in and day out. And what's going to make the next 6 years any different from the next 6 months of your life? The big question is, what is your North Star? What does the life that you would choose for yourself look like? An emotionally satisfying, above the green line version of you. What does that life look like? So that you can ask yourself that question thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times. And generally speaking, always make an appropriate answer. And it's because you're oriented.
Right. Yeah. And this document that we go back to over and over again, it's a living, breathing, expanding, ever-changing document.
Absolutely.
So it grows with you. It changes all the time, which is good. That's how you want it.
Absolutely. And we were actually talking about this earlier where in the beginning of establishing something like this, some people will hear this compelling story and they'll say something along the lines of, how would I write one of those? How did you go about doing that? I've actually had friends in the past ask me for a copy of mine, you know, and just to be able to see, like, what's the header look like? Like, what are
you writing this thing?
Yeah, what are you writing this thing? Like, what are the categories that you write under? Like, how do you do this, right? And because a lot of people have never had some sort of a comprehensive look at what they would like their life to look like.
I feel like a lot of people just go by the mantra one day at a time.
Yeah, well, and I completely made this process up for me. I literally called it The Life I Choose. I had never seen anything like it. I didn't read a book that told me how to do it. I didn't have some like map, you know, my alignment plan to to the life I choose. You know, I had nothing like that. I just knew that every ounce of my being said, you need to create a North Star. You need to orient yourself to something so that you can feel good about making decisions towards something. Otherwise, you're just drifting on a boat. And what I've just found in life personally is that if you don't establish a life I choose or a life we choose, you're going to wind up with the life they choose. Someone else is going to choose aspects of your being for you.
Right.
Your employment. Yeah, they're going to keep you on staff. They're going to ask you what to do. And if you love what you do, awesome. If you don't, but you never create a North Star for yourself to reorient, then you never really have anything to compare that to.
Yeah, and
right?
people will tell you how it is. They'll tell you what's normal and how it should be.
Absolutely.
And I feel like we are definitely outliers. Just the fact that we do a process like this.
Totally.
And that we want to build something like this.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that too, because like, I think what happens to a lot of people is they start living life and sometimes they don't feel jacked about what they're doing. They're not pumped. But then they start to kind of look around and they start to talk to other people and it's like, hey, I've started in this career. Not as jacked as I thought I would be about it. Not really as pumped about my day-to-day as I thought I would be. What's that all about? And then normal people say, that's everybody, everywhere.
You only have 30 more years.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, why do you think they have retirement plans, If you love what you did, you'd never want to get away from it, So it's like, so then they start to validate that that's just how that feels, right? And they go, oh, okay, well, this is normal, this is normal, this is normal. This is normal is not the definition of awesome. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because it's normal to not be jacked about what your day looks like does not mean that you should allow yourself to not be jacked about what your day looks like.
Yeah. Like, you're here living this life. How do you want to live it? How do you want to feel throughout your day?
Absolutely.
Throughout your months, throughout your years. Like, you don't want to look back 30 years later and be like, oh man, I wasted away in that office.
Yeah. So for me, like, maybe it was the personal development I did whenever I was younger, but when I got like the this is normal cue, I was like, red alarms went off on my head. It's like, oh, well, I wanted to live an extraordinary life, not
ordinary.
Extraordinary means not ordinary. Extra normal, right? Means not normal. So like for me, those were like alarm bells. And I fortunately, as I was coming into being me, had created this orientation for myself to where I had something to gauge it against. And I would be able to say, does this lead to there? And if it didn't, I made huge decisions, what seemed like huge decisions for other people, like completely abandoning a career that I had gotten an engineering degree to do, things like that. People just look at you like, are you insane? Like, this is crazy. And it's like, actually, my emotional guidance system is telling me that that's what my life looks like.
Yeah.
And that is possible for me. And I believe that to be true. And my emotional guidance system's also like screaming at the top of its lungs that this is not that. So I have to go there. Right. And so I just feel so fortunate, honestly, to have created a process by which I could gain clarity. And back to the circle I was trying to come into there, which is people ask, how do you go about doing this, right? Can I get a copy of your document, things like that? Well, I would say, first off, just as a likeness, you're not instantly always amazing at creating this hyper clarity around the life you choose to live. You don't always just sit down and write out 23 pages of your existence that's just perfect. Sometimes you get a download like that, but a lot of times what it starts with is like what is like a big fuzzy target. So think like a low resolution picture. You can sort of see it in the sky and you could be like, yeah, that's kind of a target. Like I see the red rings kind of, but it's fuzzy, low resolution, right?
Yeah, kind of like a wouldn't it be cool if.
Right, exactly. But you start to just give yourself permission to go general, be general around, I'd like to have freedom. I'd like to have time freedom. I'd like to have enough money to do the things I want to do and pay my bills. You know what I mean? I'd like to have time with my kids, time with my family.
I'd like to have the freedom to travel.
And like, you allow yourself to have these sort of general things. And then what starts to happen is that target starts to fill in with clarity, because now you're starting to get into sort of vibrational harmony with that target.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is, as you get into vibrational harmony with this general target, clarity starts to come in. You start to get downloads of, well, this is what that really looks like. And then you start to see the resolution light up. You start to see the rings tighten up, right?
The focus.
It starts to focus in, and it's like, oh, wow, that looks really good. And as long as it's compelling, then you start to receive more clarity. It starts to get sharper and sharper and sharper until you can finally look at the target in the sky and you see this high resolution image of a target with a bullseye, baby. Like, that's a bullseye. Boom. And it's like, when you get that, I like literally get chill bumps thinking about it, because like once you have that bullseye and you're committed to being in vibrational harmony with that in your own mind, and then making decisions towards the bullseye, right? That's when the universe can really wrap itself around your vibration and your focus and really start to line things up for you that move you closer and closer to the bullseye. And when you commit to the bullseye, it's, if you've ever played darts, it's kind of fun if you've ever played a game that you have gone around the board and maybe you've satisfied all the remaining pieces of the game and you're on the final throws, right? Where you're trying to get this one last thing, because I used to play a game, I think it was called cricket, but essentially you would hit different places on the dartboard and ultimately you had to hit the bullseye to complete the game, right?
Yeah.
And there's this cool, satisfying feeling of, you've already satisfied everything else. Now I'm going for the bullseye. There's no other focus. There's no other target. There's nothing else out there. There's nothing to distract me. I am throwing at one thing and one thing only, and that's the bullseye of that target, right? When you can get into that space and you give yourself permission to seek your own bullseye, to get laser focused on that and just throw every dart you've got at that thing, then you just start to pick up this momentum and this energy, and you don't have to ask yourself, where can I get more caffeine to wake up in the morning? Like, that's when you really start to feel jacked and do the deal. So anyway, I just I just feel like that's sort of the process. And then we can talk a little bit more about maybe a recommendation for someone who has no form of a document like this. But, I just wanted to clearly state that, like, expecting yourself to sit down and write everything out in perfect clarity the first time you try in like 30 minutes is not how it works.
Right. Yeah. And it's not so much about planning every single thing along the way. It's about getting excited about those big targets, like you were talking about, and then letting the universe surprise and delight you along the way.
Totally.
So I think some people get it confused with feeling like they need to have all of life figured out.
Totally.
But that would be so lame. Like, if we came into this life and our life was like a movie that we had already seen, wouldn't that be so ridiculous?
Yeah, or a roller coaster you haven't ridden.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like I don't want it to look like that, like all pre-paved, pre-planned.
Right. No, I want to be excited about the surprises that come up.
Yeah.
Like, I want to experience the fun and the vigor and all of these crazy things that came into my life that I didn't even see coming, like the people, the circumstances, the events that brought me to those incredible targets that I was the conscious creator of because I stated them
100%.
and then they happened.
Absolutely.
So, like, the fun is on the journey on the way to those targets. And
Correct.
Same thing applies that I said earlier. This is really great. Let's see how it goes.
Totally. And there were a lot of, this is great for now, let's see how it goes on our journey.
Right.
That matched our current document at the time.
Right.
Right. And that was super cool. Just saying, hey, this is right now in harmony with where we want to be and where we want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's do this for now and see how it goes.
Yeah, like, this feels really good right now.
This feels really good right now.
Let's see how it works out.
And then if that for some reason stops feeling very good, or you've kind of milked the emotional juice out of that experience, a lot of times it's just because it's time to move on to another version of yourself, or a there's something new potentially in that area. And
Right.
I have a really great friend that I was having a conversation with on this the other day, and we were talking about the trains in Japan. And I was basically saying, there's this one massive train that takes you super fast between these big cities in Japan. It's called the Shinkansen. And one of them will take you from Osaka to Tokyo in like 3 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But generally speaking, you live in an apartment over here
Mm-hmm.
in Shinsaibashi or, or someplace in Osaka.
Mm-hmm.
And there's generally a set of trains that take you to the Shinkansen. You don't usually just walk out your door and you're on the Shinkansen. Those are highly desirable apartments there, but we weren't living in that one. So like you generally have to go like the red train will take you to this station where you get on the green train, and that will take you to this station and take you to the blue train. The blue train will take you to this station, and that station, when you walk over here, is where the Shinkansen is. So sometimes you can see these periods of your life, and it can sort of feel like, wow, that was a really big period of my life. Maybe it was an occupation that you had at the time, or maybe it was a relationship that you had at the time, or maybe it was a education path that you had at the time, whatever it was. And you can see it kind of coming to the station and start to feel that it's time to get off the train. And sometimes people like latch on like, no, that's who I am. I am that's what I do. That's what I've always done. I can't exit.
If not that, then what?
If not that, then what? And sometimes you just have to look at it and be like, dude, that was the red train. And you're going to have to get off the red train to get on the green train that takes you to the blue train.
To get the more.
That takes you to the Shinkansen where you haul ass, from Osaka to Tokyo. And so like, I feel like we've also done that along the way, gotten comfortable with getting off the red train, getting onto another train based on how it felt at the time and how it oriented us to our vision document.
Yeah, like our targets have changed dramatically since we first started these Life We Choose documents. Like one that really sticks out is initially for the money category specifically, and career, we were so focused on passive income. So back then everything was, how do we make passive income?
Right.
Because we wanted the freedom. And we were on the right track, totally on the right track.
We thought that's what would produce freedom.
Right. We thought that's what would produce freedom, and not just freedom, but like satiating freedom. So once we had achieved these 3 freedoms, we had achieved time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom. We actually were experiencing a lot of freedom in our lives. There was this pull for a whole new type of income, which was passion income.
Right.
And back then, when we were so focused on passive income, what we were excited about was the exact right thing that allowed us to grow into the people that had the skills to be able to jump into this, like jump onto the next train to go to our passion income.
100%. Like, I feel like it wasn't passive income that led to the life that we wanted to live. It was active income that was fun to materialize. Right. So like you said, there was sort of like this, well, we need to make passive income. And then that was kind of at the point whenever I had never really made very much real money, and then we stepped into like making decent money, like good money.
Right.
And then it was very active income. We were doing a lot, working a lot, focused on things, moving things forward, adding value to real people and making active income. And it was like, dude, I don't need passive income, because I thought I needed passive income because previously the active income that I was making was not fun.
Right.
Or satiating.
And it was very much attached to time for dollars.
Correct.
And in our document, like wanting a family that you spend the majority of your time with them while they grow up, that isn't congruent.
100%. So like, I feel like that, and then sometimes people fall into that trap vibrationally where they feel like, oh, I need passive income because making active income sucks. And it's
Right.
like, no, making active income the way you've made active income sucks.
Right.
Right.
But there are much better ways that you could thoroughly enjoy with your personality and who you are and the skills that you bring to the world and
Absolutely.
the value.
Absolutely. And then now we've got passion income on the table, which is not only is it active income, but we are doing things that like really light us up and they're like really a part of our life calling in a way. Right?
Right.
Like just like we feel like this massive energy toward this, these new
Right.
projects and things. So
And I love what that quote you said that Mark Cuban said, you would know it better.
yeah, he
We were talking
basically
about
said
this.
something about we were born to create. So the reason people get depressed sometimes is because all they're doing is consuming. So like if you're born to create and all you're doing is consuming,
There's
then,
a greater calling inside.
yeah, absolutely. So ultimately, I think that kind of happens sometimes where people are trying to consume their way into happiness.
Right.
And there is no amount of consumption that will fill the void of creation. Right?
Wow.
So
profound.
so profound.
That should be like a tattoo.
Yeah. Look, tattoo that one on. There is no amount of consumption that will fill the void of creation.
I love it. So if you've never done anything like this before, if you've never thought about what you would want your life to look like, and you're a total newbie at all of this, we want to go over how you could go about doing this. And we're actually building this at Vibration Fit. So if this is right up your alley, then you will love everything that we're going to release this year.
Absolutely.
But if you're a total newbie and you want to get started on this track of creating the life I choose, we would recommend starting with 4 categories.
We call them the core 4.
The core 4.
The core 4. And it's just, if you can nail these,
Mm-hmm.
your life's going to be pretty awesome.
Exactly.
And the 4 are?
So the 4 are body, money, relationships, and career. So if you want to take a piece of paper and draw a vertical line and a horizontal line and make 4 boxes and write those 4 things. In one box, write body or health. The next box, write money. The third one, write relationships. And the fourth one, write career. And then just allow yourself, unabridged, to write everything that would be cool if you were experiencing it in your life. So just allow everything to flow out onto that paper that would be cool if you were experiencing it. And if you're not a pen to paper type person, typing it is awesome too. You can just get into a document and just put those 4 categories up and then start typing everything that comes out that feels exciting.
Absolutely.
And at first, it may feel like, I don't know what I want as far as a career. I have no idea what kind of career would
And when
light
you're
me
in
up.
that vibe, you're going to have a big, fat, blank piece of paper staring back at you. Right? But so what's the bridge statement? I've seen you use this a lot, and I've actually adopted it. But there's like a bridge statement that you use.
Yeah, so I've actually come a long way from not knowing anything that I wanted and feeling totally lost to really just like trusting that there is a lot more to life that's ready for me. And the bridge statement that I use to get from not having any clue to feeling like, wow, there are some things out there that would be super exciting is I want to know what I want.
Totally.
So I just state to the universe, I want to know what I want.
There's a massive difference vibrationally between that feeling of disempowerment, which is, I don't know what I want. And how am I ever going to get to a satiating above the green line life experience if I can't even just find clarity on what I want? There's a massive vibrational difference between that and I want to know what I want. Because now you're at least giving yourself permission to allow that information. Yeah. To allow the universe to populate things in your mind.
Right.
And then if you take that one step further, which is, I believe there's a portion of my consciousness deep within that has already taken all of my requests and become a version of me that has clarity on this, right? Then you can start to give yourself permission to believe in that clarity, right? So then whenever you say, I want to know what I want, and I believe there is clarity at some portion of my consciousness, and now choose to allow yourself in this moment to begin to receive that clarity, now you're more in a positive expectation state of mind where it says, hey, I want to know what I want. I believe there is clarity out there for me. And now I'm expecting it to come in because I'm just inviting it in, right? Then you'll start to see that target start to form in the sky. Like I said, low resolution at first, but call that general win a win.
Right.
If you can just generally start to say, like, you know what, I'd really like to have some more freedom around my schedule. If that's on your list, I'd really like to have a spouse that allows me to be me, right?
I really like to have a body that allows me to do these things, like
Absolutely.
go hiking with my dog or chase after my children or climb a mountain,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
I'd like to have more than enough money to pay my bills and do the things I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Those sound kind of simple and they sound kind of obvious, right? But what that does is it opens the floodgates to possibility and future clarity, additional clarity. Because once you get into vibrational harmony with those things, then additional clarity will start to fill in. Well, what does that look like? And one thing that I've just personally found, you know, there are all these exercises in the world that basically say, we're going to teach you how to get to your why. The reason that you really want to do things.
We'll tell you your why.
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and tell you what it is. Like, the basis of life is freedom. So I've seen all these exercises where they'll tell you, like, if you ask yourself why 7 times, then you get down to the real root. I want financial independence. Why do you want financial independence, Jordan? Well, because I want my kids to have a great life. Why do you want your kids to have a great life, Jordan? Well,
over the course of the next 500 questions, we'll get to the bottom of this.
Exactly. And like people go through these exercises, and some people have decided it's okay to like stop at 7, you know, and whatever you arrive on there is deep enough that it'll be driving and motivating to you. But the basis of life is freedom. So most of the time, what you'll find for the reason why you want your body to be a certain way, or you want your money to be a certain way, or you want your relationship to be a certain way, or you want your career, work, business environment to be a certain way, is because at some level, the basis of life is freedom. You want to feel free to make choices about how you live your life.
You want to be free to experience yourself in this life experience the way that you choose.
Exactly. Absolutely. So if you know that the basis of life is freedom, then ultimately you know what you're kind of shooting for in these areas. That gives you a little hint of like the type of life that you would design in the 4 categories. Like just what makes you feel free to think about in the moment. And if you can get there and you can start to hone that in, then you'll have the initial beginnings of a life compass that will take you to more than you could really even imagine at this moment.
And then one step further past, like, I want to know what I want. After having all of the manifestational evidence over the past decade, I've graduated to this other phrase, which is, I know exactly what I want. Or sometimes I say, I know exactly what to do.
Right.
And I use those constantly. Every time something comes up in the business or as a parent or in a relationship, I just go back to that default. And the answers always come.
Yeah. Well, and so that right there, I know exactly what I want. That is 100% congruent with my idea of there's a portion of my consciousness that has already chewed this up for me and knows with clarity what I want. So like yours is actually more eloquent and simple. I know exactly what I want. And if you take that like deep, then I know exactly what I want essentially can mean a portion of my consciousness does have clarity on this, right? I like yours better. I know exactly what I want because now I can say that.
Yeah.
And like if somebody's like, oh, do you? I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, there's a portion of my consciousness that has clarity on what I want. So I do believe that fundamentally.
Right.
I know exactly what I want. And whenever you do that, yeah, and I believe that
all of the exact right people, circumstances, events are going to flow forth and allow it to be now.
Exactly. So if you can get there, then you're in vibrational harmony with it and you'll start to feel the clarity come in and you'll be able to capture it. And I think that's one thing that we've done well is when those moments of clarity were born within us and they actually got to the point that they were a manifested idea, manifested thought inside of our head, we captured it and we put it on paper. And that's why we have not just one, but many, many, many versions of the Life We Choose document. Is because as we captured new clarity, we would update it and essentially put a timestamp on it. And we can go back for years and be like, oh, look at that version of us. And, you know, how
weren't they cute?
Weren't they cute? Look what they were trying to do back then. Or
if they only knew.
Look at the life that they had imagined for themselves versus now. And it's so fun and satisfying to look back at that. So with Oliver starting kindergarten today, I really do feel proud that we did this process and we did line up with it and we did have a North Star and we did have a Life We Choose in place so that we could look back from this moment and feel like, you know what? We really did it.
We did it.
We did it.
Consciously created our reality over and over and over, and we didn't take good enough for good enough. Like whenever we got to points where we were like, you know what? I feel like I could let in even more passion, or I could let in even more joy or even more fun. We did.
Yeah, absolutely. And all those little moments that we decided it would be cool if we did this before he was in kindergarten, I feel like we did.
We did. We've done it. We've totally done it.
Totally. So with that,
we'd love to send love and light to all.